Yo, party people, February 11th, number 2. I wasn't going to do a second video, but I want to get this understanding of Gibeah out there. So we're in Hosea chapter 9, and I'm in verse 9. 9, okay? And he's referring to the nation, to what happened in this city of Gibeah. So verse 9 says, they are deeply corrupted as in the days of Gibeah. He will remember their iniquity. He will punish their sins. So what I wanted to bring out, what I started to flesh out at the end of the last video. So if you haven't seen the first video, go back and watch the first video. What Hosea is referring to here. So Hosea on the timeline, remember, for those of you that have not seen the first video or any of the videos, this is the timeline of Israel. This is Hosea. He's preaching to the northern kingdom right before their fall and after their fall, to the kingdom of Assyria. They've become completely corrupted. He's focusing on the religious class primarily. And he's saying in this verse that they're corrupted like what happened in Gibeah. So I gave a short description of what happened in the book of Judges, chapter 19. So you need to read chapter 19, but all of the book of Judges is amazing. What he's referring back to in this moment, he's calling them forth, the northern kingdom of Israel, and saying, you guys are just like when it was in the city of Gibeah. Well, what was happening in Judges at the time that he's referring to Gibeah? Judges was chaos. Judges takes place after it's Moses, then Joshua, and then Joshua dies and Caleb dies, and then it's the book of Judges. And so you see all of this chaos and different rulers rising up, a lot of murders, a lot of apostasy, the story that he's referring to is the very end of Judges. And I read to you in the last video how the book of Judges ends after the story that they're referring to in Gibeah. The very last words of Judges is verse 25. It says, in those days there was no king in Israel. Everyone did what was right in his own eyes. So that's how Judges ends. And that epitomizes the entire book of Judges. It's total chaos. It's one of my favorite books. It's really good. It's super interesting. But here what he's referring to is a situation where there was a Levite and his concubine, who was his wife, had an argument. She separated from him. The language looks like she was unfaithful, but the commentary does not believe that. They believe that they just had an argument. He went to chase her down, bring her back home. It says that he spoke kindly to her, and he was welcome in her father's house because she went to her father's house. So on their way home, from where she was, from the father's house, they were passing through enemy territory that was not safe, right? And so he was going to stay in Jebus, which was actually Jerusalem, but it was not under any of the 12 tribes' control. And so his servant said, no, let's not do that. Let's go further to Gibeah and stay where the Benjamites are, because the Benjamites was, he was a Levite, so he was of the priestly class, and he was going to the Benjamites where it should have been safe. So they go to the town square. An old man takes them in and provides for them that night, which is common custom, right? Well, in the middle of he stayed multiple days. Well, on his last night that he was there, the men of the city, and it uses language that refers to Satan. It uses in different versions the word Belial. In my version, it just says, I think it says bad men. Let me see. It says perverted men. That's what they call them in chapter 19, verse 22. So I'm just going to read this to you, exactly what happened to them and what he's referring to. So this is Judges chapter 19, verse 22. So this is the man, his concubine, he went to rescue in an old man's house in the city of Benjamin, where it should be safe. In the city of Gibeah, where the Benjamins controlled, that it should be safe. It says, verse 22, as they were enjoying themselves, suddenly certain men of the city, perverted men, surrounded the house and beat on the door. They spoke to the master of the house, the old man, saying, bring out the man who came to your house, that we may know him carnally. Now, they make it sound like they wanted to rape the man, right? And that's not what the commentary says. The commentary says that actually it sounds like they wanted to kill the man. But for whatever reason, that's the language that it's using here, and I don't understand why, but that's what the commentary said. It's an old commentary. So, but either way, it's not good. But the man, the master of the house, went out to them and said to them, no, my brethren, I beg you, do not act so wickedly. Seeing this man has come into my house, do not commit this outrage. Look, here is my virgin daughter and the man's concubine. Let me bring them out now. Humble them and do with them as you please. But to this man do not do such a vile thing. But the men would not heed him. So the man took his concubine. So the man, the Levite, took his concubine and brought her out to them, and they knew her and abused her all night until the morning. And when the day began to break, they let her go. Now, the commentary went into great detail about this, how the story does not present this as an atrocious thing. I mean, today when we look at this in our understanding, it's absolutely atrocious. But there's common decency, right? So even though they're not commenting on this, that also shows how screwed up everything was there, right? The fact that even within the story they don't address it shows you the story itself is reflecting the perversion, right? Then the woman came as the day was dawning and fell down at the door of the man's house where her master was till it was light. When her master arose in the morning and opened the doors of the house and went out to go his way, there was his concubine fallen at the door of the house with her hands on the threshold. And he said to her, "Get up and let us be going." But there was no answer. So the man lifted her onto the donkey, and the man got up and went to his place. When he entered his house, he took a knife, laid hold of his concubine, and divided her into 12 pieces, limb by limb, and sent her throughout the territory of Israel. And so it was that all who saw it said, "No such deed has been done or seen from the days that the children of Israel came up from the land of Egypt until this day. Consider it, confer, and speak up." So that begins a whole story at the end of Judges about how all of the tribes came together and came out against Gibeah and the Benjamites and massacred them. And so that only 600 of them remained. So that is the story that he's referring back to. So what are you seeing in that story? So when he's saying that the northern kingdom is represented here in this story, you're seeing chaos. You're seeing absolute. The Levite, first of all, the priest was supposed to be held to a higher standard, right? And he was not held to a higher standard. He did not do what he should have done, right? He should be following God's laws and doing what's honorable at all times, and he did not do that. The Benjamites, it wasn't like, so when this happened, the man of the house it wasn't like all the other people in the city came out and were attacking these Benjamites, saying, "What are you doing? This is absolutely unacceptable." I mean, it was almost like it was normal, and like nobody else came out to defend this old man because this was a normal behavior. That's how perverted they had become. So, excuse me. So what you're seeing here is Hosea calling out the northern kingdom and attributing their behavior and their thought patterns and everything that they were doing back to this situation. And what was the result of this situation? The result of the situation was absolute chaos, and the entire nation coming against the Benjamites and Gibeah and judging them, right? And taking matters into their own hand to the point where they were almost 100% wiped out. Only 600 Benjamites remained, and they had to do a special ceremony so that they could have wives and have children and bring them back into the fold of Israel. So that is what Hosea is referring to there in chapter 9. I encourage you, if you've never read chapter 19 in Judges, just read from 19 on and read the rest of Judges, because it will explain that whole story, and you'll see how Hosea is coming against the people of the northern kingdom and the priests and the Levites and the religious class and holding them accountable for where they're at. Okay, so that's all I had for you. I was trying to get it done in one video. It was only a few verses, but it's pretty intense. Judges is awesome. If you've never read Judges, I definitely get a good commentary and read the book of Judges. Again, it takes place before the kings, before Saul, before David and Joshua. Before David and Solomon. So before all of the prophets, all the stuff that we're reading now. It's really interesting. All right, that's all I had for you. Read your Bible. Jesus is coming. Peace.